From having the license to use more colorful language, to amping up the violence and gore, these are the biggest differences between Criminal Minds and Criminal Minds Evolution. Let's start with the most obvious one. Evolution shakes up the format. Episodes of the newer iteration are fewer in number, but have got a greater runtime. This allows for an overall change in the energy of the show, with the best features of the OG still present. As always, there's an unsub, but this time around, he's got a network of criminals, shielding him from the ever-sharp eyes of the Behavioral Analysis Unit. Plus, this long, drawn-out format's got other perks too, in terms of the way the story's told. Criminal Minds Evolution gets up close and personal, now that there's no pressure to have an investigation reported and all wrapped up, all within the span of an hour. The show's ability to free up some screen time for its characters is a bonus as well. Now we can see the way their lives and their jobs collide and clash at times. Plus, with only one mastermind behind it all, the series presents his life as well. This creates a more layered and meaningful approach, while providing the audience with the opportunity to more closely relate to the various characters. This is great because the BAU hasn't been present like this before. Profilers and their personal lives are a part of the show as well, even though the original gave us some heart-wrenching reveals. Ultimately, the lives of the profilers never took center stage, or even when their struggles emerged, it wasn't stuff that was apparent in the workplace. This kind of made the picture feel somewhat incomplete, because as people who have to engage with death and trauma the way the agents do, there's bound to be some emotional and physical fallout. But right as Criminal Minds Evolution began, the profilers all had something on their plate, and we could see their struggle to balance work-life, starting with David Rossi, who's dealing with the death of his wife. He was more focused on his work and was falling apart at the same time.
I said the FBI thinks the masks mean he's impotent.
Speaking of work-life balance, the married couple JJ and Will were struggling to get their romantic spark back as JJ stepped into her new role as a working mom. The raw, emotional representations make the characters stand out even more than before, and their job takes on more depth too, because at times, they seem to be doing it at the expense of the lives they'd like to have, and it isn't just major story arcs that are getting their due. The minor conflicts are presented effectively as well. Criminal Minds Evolution finds the BAU in a different state than before. They're struggling with a monster that's present in all great organizations: bureaucracy. Due to the interference from upper management, the team's gotta accept some stuff they wouldn't even have imagined before, like budget cuts. Due to these, the team is split up so they can work with greater efficiency. They're also fighting for their survival as a unit. This is what brings in a sense of urgency to have the unsub apprehended, with bureaucratic interference invading their lives. They've gotta prove their relevance. It's something that they're all aware of, and it seeps into the way they gel together. All in all, this adds more maturity to the narrative. This is only enhanced by how the BAU's bond is a part of the story too. As Rossi's shouldering his grief, the entire team's totally behind him. However, they've all got their own troubles. This means that there's real talk, because at the end of the day, this is a unit that really cares about each other. Since Dr. Spencer Reed and Matt Simmons aren't around, and no new character has come in to replace them, the unit also has an increased workload. The nature of their cases is also different because there's an entire network of unsubs, and their resources are limited. The BAUs clearly push to the limit in Criminal Minds Evolution, which makes the show even more compelling. The team's still focused as ever on their cases, and making it their primary mission to stop the bad guys. That's one thing that hasn't changed from the flagship series. But the next difference really sets this adaptation apart from the original, and that's the issue of mental health. Evolution does a great job of exploring this theme. For example, Rossi, in his grief, becomes hostile. He's often angry at everyone and everything in the workplace, which of course comes from a place of pain and grief. Clearly this affects his team members. Rossi's struggles are well documented in the show, like the time he gave a speech to a young girl they rescued at the end of episode 1. The girl's struck by profound grief as her family's murdered by a guy she met online. So her faith in life is shaken, but Rossi, carrying his torment, tells her not not to give up despite her incalculable loss. In this way, the series establishes a dialogue with viewers also struggling with mental health. Plus, exchanges between Rossi and Garcia in the first 2 episodes are great standout moments. When Rossi goes off on Garcia because he's displacing grief for anger, Garcia very effectively sets a boundary because she's also battling a lot to simply get back into the game. Later, Garcia urges Rossi to seek therapy, as it's something she found helpful in her own personal journey. Also, Garcia's character development as someone who stands up for herself now is pretty neat too. Additionally, the show's now on Paramount Plus instead of having a designated spot on CBS. And y'all know what that means, right? More creative liberties for writers and showrunners. Having broken free of network constraints, the characters on the show are now totally free to use profanity. And it's about time, because sometimes 4-letter words give a more authentic experience to the viewers. In real life, people swear, especially with such high-stress jobs. Being free from network constraints also means more gore.
Your face is gonna be on one of those tapes. And when I find it, I'm gonna paper this city with it. Just like you did with those women. Everyone will see it. They won't be able to ignore it.
Which again, adds to the show's level of authenticity. Obviously, in real life, profilers are forced to deal with the gory aspects of various crimes. Speaking of stuff that'd make you look away, Criminal Minds Evolution's got a darker tone than the original. The extreme environments in which a serial killer operates are readily shown. For some reason, this adds to the realism, but for others, it makes them feel squeamish. Evolution's clearly up the ante, and isn't afraid to get real. However, there's still some people out there who disagree. Has the new adaptation really outgrown the primetime mentality? Gothic as it is, many people feel that it could still commit a bit more to the genre. As a show that's come right off network primetime, the series always kept it friendly for people who'd stumble onto the show randomly, which meant that the violence was always watered down.
Drop it!
Tyler?
Found you. Finally.
You are?
You know who I am!
No, I really do not.
But for the show to truly leave behind the original and venture into new territory, it has to take more creative risks. Another criticism from fans is that higher stakes are in order. Evolution's making a huge leap in the way it's transitioning to a show that's more character-driven. However, some of the older tropes have gotta go. The agents come up against life-threatening situations all the time, yet the impact of it is rarely seen. Simple shock value just won't cut it anymore.
Copy. JJ.
No one wants to see any of the celebrities die, but near-death experiences should start meaning something. The good news is that there might be time to get to all this because Criminal Minds Evolution has been renewed. Paramount Plus has revealed that they've got plans for the production of another season all lined up.
45 caliber. Need to staunch the bleeding.
All right, I got you, Lieutenant. All right, just hang tight. We got you. Ah! Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Put your red pressure right
Okay.
there. Right there.
All because of how well the first season was received by viewers. It's now one of Paramount's top 5 original series. There you have it, ladies and gents. Those are the biggest differences between Criminal Minds and Criminal Minds Evolution.